email marketing should be your most profitable, most reliable sales channel. And unfortunately, for many businesses, that's just not the case. So after auditing hundreds of different email accounts from potential clients and from clients that we've worked with, there are several mistakes that I see made over and over again, either from whoever was managing the email marketing, whether it was the business owner, a marketing staff member, or another agency or freelancer who is managing the account. There are a bunch of common mistakes I see all the time, but I'm only going to talk about 4 because these are by far the most common, and they're also the most detrimental, that are going to be preventing you from generating a ton of sales from email marketing. So the first thing is, I get into the account and they have very limited email automation. So they're missing a lot of their core flows, or they're not optimizing their flows. So the first place I always recommend starting with any business with their email marketing is to at least optimize your sales process, meaning to break down the step-by-step process that someone has to take to go from being a stranger to being a customer, and adding in automated email follow-up in between all of those steps. So for an e-commerce business, it's really as simple as having things like your welcome series for non-buyers, a browse abandonment flow, abandoned cart and abandoned checkout flows. Site abandonment is nice to have. It's not the highest priority. And then a post-purchase flow for customers who buy. And then once you've got those core flows, you need to be optimizing those flows, because going from nothing to having something is great. You're going to start generating more results, but you're not going to tap into your maximum potential until you start doing things like A/B testing all of the emails in those flows and customizing the flows where non-buyers are getting a different experience from customers, and then repeat customers and VIPs are getting different experiences from one-time customers. And you've got certain abandonment flows that are like, for example, browse abandonment or different abandoned cart or abandoned checkout flows created specifically for the key products or the products you have that are generating most of your sales. So things like that. There's a lot of things you can do to optimize those flows to take the performance way beyond what you're already getting just by having some of those crucial flows in place. Then, of course, there's a bunch of other flows you can add beyond that. But again, I see so often where businesses just don't even have those core flows in place. The second huge mistake I see all too often is just boring copy in the emails. I think a lot of people, they don't quite understand that how much potential there really is with email marketing. And because they either they don't believe in it, or maybe they just don't like email marketing themselves as a consumer or whatever. And their attitude carries over into how they create the emails, and the copy is just boring. And a lot of times I will see an email for a brand where the copy in that email, let's just say it could be a campaign, it could be a flow email, whatever, you could have copied and pasted that to another brand and you would have been selling a completely different product, and yet that copy, you could have just filled it in and not changed anything, and no one would have thought there's a typo or any kind of miscommunication. And the reason why is because the copy was just boring. It's just like, oh, hey, check this out, we're having a sale, or this is our special, blah, blah, blah. And they're not even like talking specifically about the offer, about the products. And most importantly, this is the most crucial part, is that they're so focused on just trying to generate the sale, they're not even focused on the customer. They're not giving them a compelling reason to be interested in the first place. So if you're trying to sell something in an email, then one of the first things you want to talk about is why they should even care about that in the first place. So what kind of problems are you solving for them? What are you helping them achieve? What are you helping them enjoy? This depends on your product. Not everything is solving an obvious tangible problem. A lot of times these are internal emotional problems that you wouldn't explicitly call out, but you would definitely want to hint at or allude to. So one thing to keep in mind is that actually I would give you 2 rules here, 2 rules of thumb. The first one, the copy should be way more focused on the person you're selling to than it is on the thing that you're selling. Okay, we're just trying to get their attention, get them interested, and get them to click, and then let the product page, the sales page, do the rest. Let that actually sell, complete the purchase and get them to buy the product. And then the second thing, so you're talking about them and you're focused on them, is you want to be specific. So you want to actually call out specific benefits of this particular product, or give them, very specific reasons that they should be interested in this offer in a way that where you could not take that same copy and put it in another email for another product. If you could copy and paste it into any other email or into any other offer, it's not specific enough and it's not going to be interesting enough, and it doesn't give people the sense that you are, actually care about these emails that you're writing, and so they're not going to care to open and read them. Okay, now the third thing I see most often, the third mistake, is not having a campaign strategy. So a lot of times brands, they just decided one day that, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to send a monthly sale, a monthly 15% off sale, and that's just what we've always done, and it generates sales, and so we think it works, so we're just going to keep doing it. And yeah, sometimes that will work to a certain extent, but it's only going to take you so far. So if you're sending the same old emails every week or every month, it's just going to get very boring for people, and you're not giving them a reason to, especially if you're relying on it always being a sale. Because if you can't give them a reason to buy without a sale, then it's going to be very difficult to grow this sales channel and make it profitable, because you're always, taking one step forward and one step back, because you're eating into your margins with every single email you send out, because you're always giving them a discount. So you want to get to where you're not having to rely on that, and you're sending a better variety of content, and then you're starting to use segmentation. And then here's the kind of overarching theme of this, whenever I say they don't have a campaign strategy, is that the content needs to serve some sort of purpose beyond just generating sales. Of course, we're trying to generate sales with email marketing, but the content of your emails should be more focused on the customer and around the lifestyle that they're trying to live, that's related to your products. And that way the content itself is interesting. Maybe they learn something, maybe they get inspired, maybe they're entertained, whatever it is, you want them to feel some sort of emotion and have some sort of experience beyond just knowing that you're trying to sell to them, which every consumer knows you're trying to sell to them, so there's no point in trying to hide that. That's what you really want to have, is whenever you're coming up with a campaign strategy, it's like, okay, what's the overarching message of our content? What are we really all about? But more specifically, what are our customers really all about? What do they care about? And how can we help them get more of that? And then we will have that be the overall theme for our emails. It just so happens that the products that are going to be featured in the emails are the products that we're selling. So that's a big difference from just sending the same old email that's just a 15% off or 10% off sale every single time, and there's no interesting conversation starter, there's no interesting marketing angle that gets people intrigued to buy without a sale, and also just continues a conversation with them that makes it fun, kind of like the way that you would hopefully be doing your social media content, where people actually enjoy following your content. You want them to feel the same way about getting your emails. Now, lastly, the fourth thing I want to mention here, because again, I still see this so often, is emails not being mobile optimized. So at this point, the majority of the traffic for most websites and the majority of email inboxes, or where emails are being read, are on mobile devices. So that means you want to have your emails designed in a way where they're going to look great on mobile. And by the way, a great mobile design looks great on desktop too. I'm sure you've noticed with like all the big brands, the way that branding looks nowadays. A great website, even on the desktop experience, usually looks like what you would expect from a mobile experience at this point, and that's just the style that everyone likes at this point, but also that's what's most effective. So just some basic rules of thumb here. You want to have bigger fonts, make sure it's easy to read on a small mobile device. You want to have bigger images where what you're trying to show in the image is very clear, and if you have any text in the image, it needs to be clear, it needs to be big enough that people can actually read, because a lot of times you're doing something on your big desktop when you're designing it and it looks amazing, but then when it's on a mobile device, people have to zoom in to be able to read it, and you don't want to have to rely on people doing that, because a lot of people aren't going to do that, or some of you, they might not know how to do that. So it's just not a good experience. And then along that same theme, you want to, of course, have big CTA buttons as well. And in general, you usually only want to have a single column layout, meaning you don't want to have multiple columns of content in your emails, because again, it's going to look terrible on mobile. It's going to be very difficult to see. And honestly, it doesn't even look that great on desktop either. So, but yeah, that's it. Those are the four biggest mistakes. If you can avoid those four things, you're going to be doing so much better than the average email marketing manager, whether you're managing it for a brand that you own or you're working with clients.